Hey, hi, how are ya? We're doing the talking hands thing again. You know when he does these, he's completely naked. Yes, I know, and it's very upsetting. Oh, more toys, more toys, more toys. What do we got here? Let's open them and find out. Why, that's a guitar effect box, and I probably only paid about $15 for it off of TEMU. Vintage Phase. Oh, that one's tiny. Look at that. This one is called the Soul Eater. MVAV, classic delay with true bypass. That's not a guitar pedal at all. Whoa. So this is just a few of the things that I've ordered. What happens is I'm on TEMU and something like this pops up, and it's a Vintage Phase effect, and it's $10, and I'm like, what do you get for $10? I have to find out what you get, and I'm weak, so I order it, and then I run across something like this, and it says it's a classic delay. Maybe it's a Bucket Brigade chip or something, and it has all these different little knobs, and it's like $20, and I'm weak, and I order it. It's a flanger with all of these knobs. I like flangers with knobs. It's called a Soul Eater. I like having my soul eaten. This is like a proper rack mount effect. I love proper rack mount effects. I'm not much of a plug-in guy. I like this kind of stuff. This was like $45 or something. Like, it's got stereo in, stereo out. It has MIDI. It has like proper 5-pin DIN MIDI. It has a foot switch. You could throw it in your rack mount. Like, I don't know what this is. This is probably this. They're all probably about the same circuits, right? First, we're going to find out if any of these are worth anything. They are probably based on the level of technology and the effects chips these days and all of that. They're probably going to sound fine. I would assume that they're going to be okay. I also have a plan for these in the long run, and I'll explain what that is later. Usually when I see people doing reviews of these, they're running a guitar through them. And that's great, but I'm not going to run a guitar through these. I'm probably going to run synthesizers, vocals, vocoder, drums, all kinds of different stuff. So when they do the reviews of these and they're running a distorted guitar through it, I can't really tell. I mean, I can kind of tell what it's doing, but it's not, I can't really tell for my use what it's doing. So here's the plan. I have these. I have a few more. I think there's a couple more upstairs, and I have a couple more coming in. What we're going to do is we're going to highlight, for one episode, we're going to highlight one of the effects that I got. And instead of running distorted guitar through it, like all the other reviews of these types of things, we're going to run synthesizers through them. We're going to run bass sounds through them. We're going to run drums through them, maybe vocals. I don't know. We'll run everything but a distorted guitar sound through them. And then we can get a kind of an idea of, especially on some of these analog delay sounds where they kind of feed on its signal. If you have a regular digital delay, when it repeats the sound, it's a mirror copy of what you put into it. You say hello, it goes hello, 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 and it keeps doing that until it finally fades away. Or it just does it forever. You set it on repeat and you walk away and it'll do it for months. An analog Bucket Brigade type delay, or an old classic like a proper tape delay or something like that, the first repeat, you put the sound into it, the first repeat comes back, but it's been destroyed a little bit. It's lost a little bit of the high end. It's not as clear. Then it gets cycled through again, and the same thing happens. So every single repeat of the delay, it slowly starts to kind of chew itself out. And if you set it for as long as you possibly can, if you set it on infinite and you go hello, it'll go hello, 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 until finally it's just this mush of noise. That's cool. That's really musical, and you could do a lot of really cool stuff with that, especially with synthesizers and things. I mean, get it to delay 4 or 5 times before it finally fades out, but it's not a repeated thing. It feels a little bit more organic. I really like analog delays for that. I think we're gonna get that out of this. I think we're gonna get that out of this. Maybe this one, I have no idea what this is supposed to do. Modulated delay. So it probably has several delays that work in unison, don't know. When it comes time, when we play with the analog delays, I'll bring out, I have a couple of proper analog delays upstairs that are old school stuff. And we'll compare the delay signal, the new delay signal out of something like a $20 box off of TEMU with an old school thing that was like $1,000 when it originally came out or whatever. So that's going to be the plan of this new series I'm going to do. Let's go upstairs and I'm going to show you what is in store for all or some of these, because working with pedals like this is a little awkward in the studio. So I have a plan. Okay, so we're up in the studio and I don't spend nearly enough time up here. Just with the arcade and everything else going on in my life, I just haven't had time to focus up here. That's my New Year's resolution. more time up here. These are my effects racks. I do have some pedals and some stuff that doesn't fit in racks. All my effects are plugged into patch bays. So you can see here's a MIDI Verb 2, here's a Sony R7, an old Alex, here's the DP4, whatever, right? So the top row is where the sound goes into the effect, and that goes to the input of the effect, and then it comes out of the effect and it goes to the bottom row. I send out of the console using the effect sends. So here's, on this board, they're here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then when you push this button down, this turns into 5, and you push this down and it turns into 6. So if I have, let's say that I have a voice and I want to run it to a delay. So over here, my effect sends go to here. So I will take, let's say I'm going to use, this is all connected, so we'll use this as an example. This is effect send 3 on board 1. So effect send goes out here, it comes along here, it goes over here, and this is the M300, which is the TC Electronics M300. This is a multi-effect unit, reverb, stuff like that. So it comes over to here. I have, looks like I have it set up stereo for right now. So it goes into the left channel of the M300. It comes up here, comes back out to here. This goes down here, and then this goes to the inputs of board 2. So those will come up here. That output goes to here. So then I can, from there, I can do some EQ work. I can send it out to another effect if I want to. I can use an insert. The insert then will let us just run it straight through the effect before it hits the channel. So I have all my inserts are all set up here too. I really like how this is set up. It's very fluid. I can do what I need to do. I can patch things around through multiple systems. I can do insert points. If I want to just go out of the recorder, which is this box down there. If I want to come out of the recorder and go directly to one of these compressors, I can do that as an insert, and then it gets compressed before it even hits the board, and then it goes out again through something, and I can run it through a delay and then a reverb, or whatever I want to do. Multiple channels can use the same effect. So if I have a particular room sound that I'm setting like my drums through, and maybe a guitar type sound or whatever, and I want everything to sound like it's all cohesive in the same room, I can set up a delay, or I can set up a reverb, and then I can, on each, like the snare drum, maybe the voice, maybe a bass, whatever, I can set it up on send 1, and everybody gets a little bit of that, and then that comes back in, and now we've built our room, and that's really cool. The way I've got my effect pedal set up is kind of in this little worksite. This is actually an old electronic organ. I don't remember who made it. It was, I think, a Yamaha or something. I wanted the spring reverb out of it. I got this for free. It was pretty beat up. So instead of just tossing this away, I turned it into like a little workstation I could sit at and play with all these. Pretty cool, huh? Upcycling, baby. How I play with effect pedals is a little bit different. I think of this more as like sculpture. So this is a little bit more fluid, and it kind of, usually the effects are not recorded. These are in post and in mix down. This area over here, usually this stuff is recorded because I pile these together until they sound cool, and that cool is what I want to capture. I don't like pedals. I really don't like them in this environment. Like, they're fine if you're a guitar player and you got to stomp on them and stuff, but I'm not like, can't really do that. So I want something that's a little bit more static. Something that I want to turn this into this. Maybe not so much the Qtron or the Memory Man or the Vintage Phaser. Well, maybe the Vintage Phaser because it's just a Behringer type thing. But this stuff in particular, this cheap stuff that probably will sound pretty cool, that we can actually use, and it doesn't need to be in those boxes. So how do we do that? This is my modular synthesizer. I like this thing a lot. It's a lot of fun. It looks confusing, it looks very discombobulated, but it basically does the same thing as this. The only difference with this is all the individual components, all the things that make a synthesizer are individual units, and they look like this. On this synth, they look like this. This is an interface instrument amplifier. That's it. So the back of this just looks like a big mess like that. So on this one, I have an oscillator, and I liked it so much I bought a second one. On this one, this is the oscillator. Now the oscillator is kind of your core sound. So right now on this one, oh, well, it just sounds like that. From there, we can send it through a bunch of different filters to give it different tones. We can give it resonance. Okay, and then the envelope is how that sound sounds. So this is more of like an on-off, right? But we can actually give that a little bit of more of a delay sound. Cool, huh? Over here, we have our oscillator, we have our filters, we have our envelope generators, and we can use our envelope generators on our filters, on our oscillators. We can kind of patch things together however we want to. On this one, it's more of a straight line, more or less. So it goes from, you create your oscillator sound, you mess with it with your filters, and then you send it out through your envelope, and that's what you get. So, what does that have to do with these? So this is kind of a weird little box that just kind of floats around and it will get misplaced or whatever. But what if we took this and we ripped it out of its box and we mounted it in panels like this? So you would have, on this one, it's basically an on-off switch. There's an input, there's an output, and a little effect knob, right? So there would be a little effect knob, and then your input and your output, and that's it. That's all that would be there. Oh, and maybe an on-off switch if you wanted to. We could also do like input, effect out, and a dry out. So we could just basically go from here to here. So if you wanted to send your sound through multiple devices without running it through effect first, you could do that. So it's called a multiple. So you can go in here and then you can send this signal out. These are all patched together. So then you can send all of these out together if you wanted to. So I think if I took all of these things, these cheap little whatever effects that maybe by itself is not that interesting, but piled together with 15 friends in a panel like this that you could just patch together and modulate your sound, that would be a lot of fun. And if your original effect is only 10 bucks, you could build this for not that much. This is something I've wanted to do for a while, and now I'm going to do it. So the only thing I need to do is I need to get the measurements for this panel, and I need to take it to a metal shop this place that I know of, and I'll get him to cut me out a bunch of these, cut out and fold a bunch of these panels that I could mount in a box like this. And then we'll play around with these, and if they have any merit whatsoever, then we will rip them out of their boxes. We'll do a little soldering, we'll do a little drilling, and we will mount them on here. And I think these all have kind of different knobs. So maybe I'll just buy a collection of knobs that look like this with some, I'll make some stencils that have these gradients so that it all looks uniform. So I do have some of these that I built a while ago. And I played with them, I got them up and going, but I just never had anything to mount them in. I never messed around with mounting them in anything. This one's kind of a funky bucket brigade delay. This one was going to be basically a dual bucket brigade delay. So I could have a left and right signal going through and that I can affect each one of them individually. I don't even know what that is anymore. I've got the schematics for these somewhere, I'll have to look them up. But something like this, I can mount in one of those panels and then finally have a use for this. I mean, I figured I paid enough for these little bucket brigade chips back in the day that I should use them eventually. Yeah, probably. Anyway, so yeah, so that's the plan going forward. So keep an eye out for those. If you want to see these types of crazy videos, then please subscribe. And I'll say one thing about subscribing and watching the videos to the end. I finally passed 500 subscribers in this channel. That's pretty cool, I think. But it would be awesome to be able to monetize it so that the stuff that I build, I actually make a couple of bucks back for the effort of actually making these videos. So if you like and subscribe, leave comments, and do all of that to promote the channel. If you like these videos, please do that. It helps me out, and maybe we can get over the hurdle that we can finally get monetized and make a couple dollars off of making this kind of craziness. Yeah, that's all I have to say, I guess, for now. Look, there's an old CRT. Let's put our tongue on it. Yeah, okay, so that's it. Watch out for these videos in the future. I'm going to try and do maybe one a week, and until we get all of our effects done, and then we'll go to building once I get those panels, we can go to ripping that stuff apart on this workbench, and we'll start putting them together into a rack, and then we can play around with them. All right, cool. Thanks for watching.